Mark Duda with us here on the John Mendola Show at our Carol and Janelle. Coach, you got yourself a win this past weekend. ASA Miami built up a pretty darn big lead. They started scoring at the end. The game extended a little bit, but always got to find a way to win, and your guys did it.
Yeah, we're happy with our first half performance. We thought we played fantastically well defensively. We shut them out in the first half, and just kind of let our concentration slip a little bit. I think you got to learn how to be ahead too, and it's one of those things that a young football team has to learn. You can't let people creep back into it, because we were 5 scores out in the third quarter, and that should have been a done deal. So we should learn from that.
Defensive line, a couple guys stood out, did a nice job up front. So talk about some of the up front play.
Yeah, we're fortunate. Greg Rose did a great job, a couple sacks, and Sackey, and we just have a whole. We flip those guys. If you watch our ball games, we use 9 defensive linemen in a ball game. We flip them back and forth to keep them fresh, and that really does pay big dividends as we go through the game.
You got some big energy coming off the bench up front there, 91.
Yeah, big Kev. He had an interception on the screen, which you don't see that very often. The big guy, he was rumbling, fumbling a little bit there, but it was a lot of fun to watch him play, and those guys getting the opportunity to play, I think is a big thing for the whole ball club.
Linebackers, impressed by being able to close and some big hits and just making plays.
They're a really good group. Sean Moore is the middle guy, 44, who's really a talented kid. He's a James Madison transfer. He plays a true freshman, James Madison. He's a 250-pound kid who can really run. So he'll be a Power 5 guy this year when it's all said and done. And the outside linebackers are super as well. We're fortunate. We have just 6 of those guys who play too. And I think people laugh because there are seasons at Lackawanna where we have 11 guys that go rolling in there. This year we probably have closer to 21 guys that go rolling in there.
We talked with Dejon Warren last week, secondary guy, other secondary guys as well, but good performances there, really shutting that down, as you said, in that first half, making a lot of plays. They kept trying to go to that receiver, and he was having nothing of it.
They had 3 transfer Power 5 receivers back on that football team. 9 was from Nebraska, 3 was from another Division I school, and 13 was as well. They threw 56 times. That's a pro game. Sometimes it's more than a pro game. So I hats off to the entire secondary for hanging in there with that. And, getting interceptions, I think we had 3. We turned the ball over a lot. We had 7 sacks in the ball game, too. So we had to because they were knocking on the door all the time.
Their defensive line did a decent job against your run game. But Matt Cavallero got the job done. Let's talk a little bit about the pass blocking and being able to make some connections long distance.
We say it all the time. If they have 9 in the box, one guy's got to block 2 and one guy can't block 2. So they make you throw. And that's something that we've been fortunate. Matt was a National Player of the Year of the week this week because he threw the ball so well to some great receivers. Obviously, Norval Black, the Penn State kid, is just a great receiver, and so are the other ones as well. You'll meet Samir Parks in a second. Tight end, caught 4 balls for us and kept drives alive. I think that's really important. So if they make us throw the football, we're going to throw the football. And I think we're going to do it well enough to make those guys back off a little bit.
We go from ASA Miami, another win in the books, and now we move on. Another home cooking. Erie is in town out of New York. Let's talk a little bit about the scouting report.
Yeah, they're from up in Buffalo, New York, right across from Buffalo Stadium. They come down. We've been playing those guys for a long time. They run the football pretty well. Defensively, they'll bring a lot of folks, so you'll see a lot of blitzing stuff happening from those guys. We have to usually at home. We've been very fortunate. I don't think we've lost a game at home in quite a while, and we don't really want to start doing that now. So we're going to go out there and play our tails off and keep the ball rolling, right? Keep the ball rolling.
Let's talk about maintaining focus with your guys. You mentioned, hey, the other team got back into it a little bit. Let's talk about this week of practice, saying, hey, guys, we got to be able to finish. We got to be able to start strong. We got to keep growing every week, and there's areas that you did grow in last week's game into here against Erie.
I think we learn a lot more that way, and I also think it's really important to play those second and third team kids. I think it's vitally important to us as we go through this season. Some coaches would say, hey, maintain the shutout, play your starters, but that does you no good when that backup has to come in a key situation and makes a mistake for a loss. So we're going to play as many players as we can. That's going to make us as good as we can down the stretch. So we're fortunate enough to have an offense that's letting us do that right now. But, we're going to get into those 13, 12 games before this is all over, and we need to have that strength on the bench. So I'm going to make sure that if we're up by 4 scores in the fourth quarter, we play people and get ready to go play.
self-evaluation. You and I have talked about this a bunch over the years, and not only you're scouting the opponent, but you're scouting yourself, saying, okay, what are the 3 things we need to focus on this week? And I'm sure you have that in your game plan, but talk about a general area that you're like, okay, here's what we got to do.
I think with the better special teams that we did from a personnel standpoint, I think when people get hurt or get tired and they sub themselves out, we have to make sure that secondary guy is ready. So Coach Swingle's going to do a good job this week with that, to kind of work through all of our special teams and meetings, get better at it. Really, really important. And I think also defensively, I think it's to make sure we understand that, every tackle doesn't have to be a big hit, because sometimes you have to put people on the ground, right, and play good, solid defense. Sometimes I think we get a little bit too aggressive, and that causes some issues. Offensively, continue to try to run the football, even if there's 9 there, because we know if we continue to do that, it puts those guys in a situation where they're damned if they do and damned if they don't.
This time of year, we're late September here, final game of the September weekend. Last week it was like 82 at game time, so it was hot, but didn't really see any cramping. So let's talk about the conditioning of your group and making sure guys are kind of staying on task and ready to go for unseasonably warm at this time.
Yeah, it's going to be in the 80s again Saturday, they tell me. I think it's a matter of preparation. It always is. The water you drink game day has nothing to do with cramping. The water you drink the day before the game does. So being a mature kid, being a guy who understands how important that is, really matters. So they have to take care of themselves. And it sounds really simplistic, but it's not. So we want to make sure they drink as much water as they can. And we condition really hard all week. We'll condition super hard tonight as well. But we got to make sure they're ready physically, because it is a grueling pace out there. And, as we saw in this last one, a 60-minute game could be a lot longer than 60 minutes.
It sure was. Mark Duda and the Lackawanna College Falcons. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you, John.